Today's featured presentation is going to be my favorite anime movie, Dragon Ball Super Broly.
Dragon Ball Super Broly.
Which you might know is the first Dragon Ball thing I watched.
Yeah, and it followed a conversation that we had where you were curious about Dragon Ball because myself and a lot of our friends,
everybody
likes Dragon Ball.
Likes it.
And when you asked what the best way to get into the series would be, I had recently seen Dragon Ball Super Broly, and I thought, you know what? It explains where Goku comes from. It kind of establishes the humor that Dragon Ball is known for. It establishes the action. It has all of the best parts about what makes Dragon Ball, specifically Dragon Ball Z. And so that's what we watched. And I'm going to let you explain
And it kicked ass.
Your first literally kicked ass for like 45 minutes. The second half of the movie is just the fight.
Yeah, the first time I didn't even realize how long the fight was until the second time I watched it.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is half the movie. Because a lot of shit happens.
That is not odd for a Dragon Ball Z movie, by the way. Most of them are at least 60% fighting. But just like Godzilla movies, if you're watching a Dragon Ball Z movie, chances are you're not going to give a shit about the stuff that happens around the fight.
But that's the thing. I did give a
movie,
shit because the story is actually good.
The story is actually the way that Toriyama, rest in peace, Akira Toriyama, but the way that he reworked Broly and reworked Bardock's story about raising Goku and reworked the destruction of Planet Vegeta. It just works so well, and it feels like a legit movie. And the score, by the way, I don't think people talk about the score as much when it comes to this movie, but I'm specifically thinking about the score that happens when Planet Vegeta does get blown up. It's kind of beautiful, and I remember the first time I watched it, I teared up a little bit. Because, like, I know what happens. I know everyone knows about Frieza blowing up Planet Vegeta, but just the way that it got reworked after so many drafts, after so many what-if stories in the games, after so many anime episodes or movies that talk about the destruction of Planet Vegeta, to finally see it done this way, it was just magical. It was just a sweet little entire genocide of a people. So...
Yeah.
But yeah, so you had zero experience with Dragon Ball before seeing it.
I wouldn't say zero. Josh has shown me I don't know how many countless clips and shit.
Oh, of like Super Saiyan 2 Gohan and
over the years.
Yeah.
Namely Krillin blowing up. Which, yeah, I remember seeing some comment about like how crazy it is how Dragon Ball is like people start with Z and just completely like bypass the original.
Yeah.
Which, if you watch the original first and then that scene happens, it's way more impactful.
It really is.
Because, like, you know, when I watched Kai for the first time, it was like, okay, well, Krillin blows up, whatever.
Yeah.
But then you watch the original, it's like, oh, yeah, they go through a lot. And
yeah.
Then,
that is Goku's best friend.
Yeah.
That is, like, Goku's childhood best friend. And granted, Krillin dies in the original Dragon Ball 2, but it's also... Did you get that far?
I know he does, but
Okay.
I didn't see it yet, no.
Okay. It does happen way later in the original Dragon. Like, you have to remember when the manga was coming out and when subsequently the anime was coming out week to week, every big thing that happens in Dragon Ball Z, I only wish that I could go back in time and watch it in real time. Because at our age, we had everything already recorded and released and all this stuff so we could binge all of the DVDs and VHSs or like look up whatever clips we wanted to on YouTube. But yeah, so Krillin blowing up is such a big moment. And whenever I hear Goku, again, in the Sparking Zero trailer, there's a moment where you hear Sean Schemmel as Goku scream, you know, the line about Krillin. He's like, "Are you talking about Krillin? Don't you dare!" And it's just like, every time I hear that shit, it gets me so hype. But speaking of hype, we got to go back to Broly. I can't get side. I'm sorry. This is your episode. I don't mean to get so sidetracked.
But yeah, like I liked how Broly was an actual character. Cause I watched the original Broly and he just sucks. He fucking sucks, dude. All he does is just scream Kakarot the entire time, and it's like, man, it's just better in every way, and yeah, man. It's like I said, it's a good story. You know, Daddy is mad at the
Daddy's
king
Maddies
because he was like, "Oh, your son's stronger than mine. Get the fuck out of here." And he's like, "I'll show you." And Frieza shows up and he's like, "Oh, let me manipulate you into my whole thing." And then he kills him. And then a lot of transformations and yelling. You know, like Goku and Vegeta fight base Broly, and then Frieza fights, or Broly kicks the shit out of Frieza
for half an hour. No, for an hour and a half, because Goku and Vegeta mess up the fusion twice, and they have to wait half an hour for each fusion to end. So Frieza gets his ass whooped by Broly for an hour and a half.
Yeah, we see the God forms fight him. We see the Super Saiyan God forms fight him. Broly changes like fucking 4 times. He keeps screaming, and like Gogeta shows up. He goes base, and then Super Saiyan, and then fucking blue. There's a lot of shit. And it's all very hype, and especially hype because this is one dude. Our Dokkan Battle game has some fire soundtracks, and some dude put like the Gogeta theme on top of like a lot of the fight scenes, and it's like somehow even more hype. And it's just like, it's very fun. It's very short, but a lot happens.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with Dragon Ball Z as in its current state, if you're not familiar with all of the stuff that comes out around Dragon Ball that gets people hype, I still stand by this being, if you only have an afternoon or an evening or whatever, this is probably the best way to kind of get introduced to what the series has to offer. Because it has emotional character moments. It has humor in the way that Dragon Ball can be funny. It has top-notch voice acting in both the sub and the dub, whatever you choose to watch. It has great action. The animation is really beautiful in a lot of the scenes. And and it's short, and it's not like a 2-hour long, it's not Avatar 2. It's not the Dune movies. You don't have to be super invested in the lore if you don't want to. But yeah, and then you get to choose wherever you want to go after that. That's the beauty of Dragon Ball, is that there's so much to it that you can dive in wherever, whatever series. Original Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super. There's a new one, Dragon Ball Daima, coming out this year in the fall, I think. So we're going to get hype about that. And there's also Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, which is celebrating its 10th anniversary, or its 9th anniversary on Global in less than a month.
Who's going to have
these characters, Gogeta and Broly from this movie, are featured as part of the anniversary. So you bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be spending all my top dollars trying to get these fucking characters. But that's the story of my life.
It's later. But yeah. Good shit.
Yeah, watch Dragon Ball Super Broly. Inform your own opinion. Sorry, Carson.
It better be correct.
Steal your line.